It's early in the morning on July 12th, 2024, and I've just arrived into Cumberland, Maryland. Today, we will be exploring CSX's Sand Patch Grade, so come along as we head up some Pennsylvania back roads and to our first stop of the day at Foley Overlook in Glencoe. It wasn't too long until the radio was crackling with the sound of an incoming train, and minutes later, the unmistakable sound of a Nathan K5LA air horn could be heard echoing through the Alleghenies. This is Herzog Ballast Train W08811, returning for another load of ballast after emptying most of the cars to the west of Connellsville. As you can see, a few are still half loaded though.
CSX Equipment Defect Detector Milepost 200.3 Track 2 No defects No defects Total axle 264 End of transmission no defects.
The Foley Overlook is located about 2 miles up a dirt road and tucked into the forest. Over time, the forest has began to retake the overlook with just a small sightline now in play. The signals in the valley below are located at the BF 199.5 and are known simply as FO Tower. This is the location of the former Baltimore and Ohio Tower and interlocking by the same name, although both are now long gone. The tower was remoted in the 1970s by the B&O and torn down sometime thereafter, and the interlocking, which was still hand-thrown, was removed in the early 2000s. The closest interlocking now is 10 more miles down the hill in Hindman, creating a 20-mile gap between interlockings on the east slope. By hiking down a path away from the overlook, you can gain a nice side angle for afternoon eastbounds and westbound. At 11:25, I-13611 is in full dynamic braking to keep their train under control as they head down the more than 1% grade on the east slope. Not too long after I-136, the thundering of a General Electric GEVO 12 prime mover could be heard echoing through the mountains. 5 minutes later, ES40DC 5242 is leading a Canadian National visitor west on B77011, returning to Chicago with empty ethanol. After a treacherous 25-minute drive back down the long dirt road, we finally found some pavement and headed for the west slope of Sandpatch into the Salisbury Viaduct outside of Myersdale, Pennsylvania. The viaduct was constructed by the Western Maryland Railway in 1912 and is the longest bridge on the Western Maryland system. No trains have ran across it since 1978, when the Connellsville extension was decommissioned in favor of the Baltimore and Ohio's Keystone Subdivision. Passing underneath the viaduct is loaded coal-dragged C6 8610 with 100 loads for Baltimore. The viaduct is now a part of the Greater Allegheny Passage Rail Trail, which stretches from Cumberland to Pittsburgh. The Western Maryland was actually the better constructed route as far as gradients and curvature goes, especially for heavy eastbound trains, but the lack of double tracking and modern signaling did it in. I could go on forever about the wasted potential of the Western Maryland, but I'll save that for another video. About 5 miles upgrade, the Keystone Subdivision reaches the summit of the Allegheny Mountains. As the tracks slope downward towards Foley, Overlook, and Cumberland, they enter the 4,475-foot-long Sandpatch Tunnel. This is not the first tunnel to breach the Alleghenies, as the original bore was constructed in 1871 as a single-track tunnel. With the need for higher capacity, the Baltimore and Ohio would construct the current 2-track tunnel, serving as a crucial link in their Pittsburgh to Cumberland main line, and it was completed in 1912. Your eyes aren't deceiving you. That is headlights glimmering off the rails in the tunnel. This is I-115-12 nearing the end of their climb up the 1.8% maximum grade on the eastern slope as they thunder through Sandpatch Tunnel. The tunnel is equipped with a ventilation system to filter the air out, but watch as the GEs exit the tunnel for a quick plume of exhaust. Now just imagine the amount of smoke coming out of the tunnel after a big 210-tooth steam locomotive had just finished their climb upgrade. I definitely wouldn't want to be anywhere near that. On the western end of Cumberland is a place called the Bud Board. An old Bud Light sign used to stand tall here, but has since vanished. Like in many other places, though, names change slow on the railroad. Even though FO Tower no longer stands, it's still called FO Tower. In Brunswick, Maryland, the signals are called WB, but WB Tower is no longer active. Anyways, you get the point. With daylight all but faded, M36912 is finally pulling out of town, having spent the past 2 hours building their train. I was hoping they would depart just a little bit earlier to get some nice sunset pics as they departed Cumberland, but oh well. The next morning, I'm up bright and early and at Cumberland's Amtrak station, but nothing else is moving with me. So, I decided to head down to Virginia Avenue and check in on the yard operations. In the yard, a rare SD50-3, numbered 8662, sits dormant waiting for its next call to action, paired with a remote control yard switcher. Behind the 2 locomotives, where the 2 tank cars are located, is where CSX unloads diesel fuel, which is then used for fueling locomotives at the fuel pad near the Cumberland shops. Switching the yard near the Loram ballast cleaner is yet another SD50-3, this time number 8536. At the west end of the old hump bowl sits the Cumberland car shops. Here, rail cars receive necessary repairs before being sent out to their next destination. These repairs could be anything from changing out worn-out brake shoes to replacing axles that have flat spots. At the time of the recording of this video, CSX was in the midst of replacing the eastern end of the hump bowl with a flat switching ladder, which you can view in this video right here. I hope to be out this way soon again in order to document the new switching operations taking place in the rebuilt yard. Finally, after about an hour of sitting, there's some action stirring in the yard. The road crew is bringing out CM44AH number 7566 and ES44AH 3177 from the shops to get their train. After lining some switches, the crew reverses back towards their train. With their cars gathered, L16513 departs for Grafton, West Virginia. Virginia Avenue is also where most trains swap crews. The SD40-2s are switching the yard with the ES44AH on the main line on the point of M27611, waiting for their new crew. While the yard job was in the clear, the new crew climbed on board the locomotive. Let's listen in on their rundown.
Representing 4210256 message. We got the 3130 in the lead. It's got 3790 in it, or BP 70 David 3308. 132, 9518 on the tons, 12,612 on the length. Not a key train, no restriction. All the cars are just up Cumberland, PTC, trip out the buzzer. Oh, yes, over.
Okay, alright. As soon as I get a route for you, I'll see you on through, over.
Alright, as soon as we get a route, you'll holler at us. Okay.
Signal indication. CSX DBN.
With permission to proceed east following signal indication by the dispatcher, it's high ball for M27611.
We're good to go straight through, correct?
Hello. That's totally out of the car to kick out.
That was, we talked to, Phoebe and,
Back into downtown Cumberland and at Baltimore Street, a Phase 7 P42 leads the Capital Limited into its station stop. With PO30 stopped at the station, it was time to depart Cumberland. Thank you all for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below. Until next time, this is Commonwealth Rail, out.